Well, hello everyone, and thank you for joining me. I'm Jill Bloom, group publisher of Walls and Ceilings, and welcome to If Walls Could Talk. It is such an honor to have with me today Ron Rice, who is the Director of Sales, a specialty of architectural ceilings and walls from CertainTeed. Ron Rice. Ron, thank you so much for joining me.
Jill, glad to be here and glad to see you again.
Well, Ron, we're so excited to know that you were the recent recipient of the Degelicki Award from CISCA. Congratulations.
Well, thank you, ma'am. That's a humbling honor.
Well, they do this annually, and I know that they look for very special people. And there was no doubt it was not a surprise to know that you were receiving this because I've known you now for, I guess I officially met you 10 years ago. And Ron, you're a total incredible leader in the industry and are so supportive of everything that we do to help us as well, to make sure everyone gets great content out there. So we're always grateful for that. But again, it's not surprising to see the that they saw the leadership person in you and how much you give and how much you love this industry. So again, congratulations.
Well, thank you for that. And that's very kind words. Thank you.
Well, I think we need to take a moment though and learn a little bit more about you for everybody that's listening. So tell us a little bit about who's Ron Rice.
Well, I think Ron's a guy that is the luckiest guy in the industry. I've never worked a day since getting into this. Sometimes, Jill, we've called it Hotel California. You get in it, you can't get out of it. I started this career less than 48 hours after graduating from Georgia Tech with the old Don Grid Company, the ceiling grid folks. That over time morphed into USG and over time L&W Supply, then Hunter Douglas and CertainTeed. So about 40 years of that work, but it very quickly became an avocation, not a vocation. And that's due to the incredible amount of people across this country and in Europe at some stages of my career that the trades that we work with, and I will probably speak a little bit about this with CISCA. When you're involved with manufacturers and contractors and distributors and salespeople, suppliers and vendors, it can become quite a career. And it has been just a blast from day one for me. I've enjoyed every single day, every minute, every person, all of it. Even folks that agree to disagree. They're wonderful people, but we've done a lot of good things as teams that have been involved in, and I've absolutely loved it.
Yeah, even when there's disagreements, those are monumental moments to how to pivot and move forward. But I think
Sure.
one thing I love about you, Ron, that I think is such a foundation of who you are as a team player and the leadership's roles that you have had is it really started at Georgia Tech, and you were the kicker for the football team. Can you tell everybody? I just want everyone to hear a little bit about that because there's no doubt when it comes to team sports, especially football is one of them. You learn so much. There's so many takeaways that come into your career. But tell everybody about your career as playing for Georgia Tech as the kicker.
Yeah, that was obviously a good time in my life. Certainly, I was the place kicker and punter. Did that for 4 years, and 80 to 83. There's a lot of life lessons with sports, and whether it's individual stuff that like a tennis player maybe, but there's a team around a tennis player, or a team sport like football, where you're relying on people, you're relying on yourself, they're relying on you, and there's a lot of lessons learned there. I was awarded team captain my senior year as a place kicker and punter, and that's got to be just rare. But those are locker room moments. It's one thing to perform on a field. It's another thing in the locker room. And guess what the locker room's comprised of? People. And you learn so much. You play a Division I sport and you go on to school, things from time management to upholding commitments and the accountabilities and the expectations, the teamwork, the collaboration, the hard knocks. You get up, you never quit. And all those things start entering into the picture. And sports hopefully still remains a meritocracy where merit matters and performance matters and all of that. So those are some of the takeaways that some of them are skill sets, some of them are intangibles. They're inside, they're intrinsic, and that taught me a lot, and it made some things in my business career easier because you realized you could go through things, you could be curious, you could learn, you could care, you could compete, and all those things happen, and that happened in a 4-year window, and then it carried over now for a 40-year period in a career. So thank you for asking about that. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, for sure. So Ron, who have been some of your mentors in the industry from the day you started until now?
Yeah, I have two. First, there's a ton of people to thank. I was fortunate to be able to do that at the acceptance little speech. About 50 people I called out, and because a lot of people over time mean a lot of stuff. You cannot be a hero and do this by yourself. There are 4 young mentors besides family and my daughters and things like that. There are 4 mentors that are younger, decades younger, and I always like to call them out too. To start with those guys, with Steve Udoff, Hunter Pope, Lynn Johnson, or Lynn Weber now, and Bo Johnson. And those are folks that are in the CISCA group. I've worked with them, and they keep me young. The thoughts of the young people coming out that are 20 and 30 years younger than me, that's very important. But I've got 5 chief mentors and coaches, and I always like to use the word coach as well. A mentor sometimes just wants to make you feel good and you move on. A coach is not going to always make you feel good. A coach is going to coach. And there are moments when you don't really need to feel good about what just happened, but you need to learn from it. And there's 5 people, and I had a chance to spend time with them before and after the convention. But Wayne Chester, who was with Tectum, he was a former Degelicki winner, very instrumental in things that he taught me. Mike Dorner, who I met over time. He was an independent rep, but he was involved in the business forever. He's very important to me. Dilip Joglekar, who was my boss for about 15 years at Hunter Douglas, an incredible mind on that man. And the 2 others, Dave and Osdahl, who gave me my first ever interview at Dawn Grid back in the spring of 85. And he's been a business associate, lifelong friend. And then the final guy is Tommy Wynn, who's been the president of Gordon Incorporated. And Tommy and I both like grits and sweet tea, so we got to know each other in the South down here. And but those 5 guys in our industry were mentors and coaches, and I owe a lot to them.
Oh, that's awesome. That's what it's all about, are the relationships that we build in this great industry. And speaking of relationships, there's no doubt, I know that that's probably why you've gotten so involved with CISCA. But let's talk about your involvement with CISCA and why is that so important, not just to you, but to the entire industry, and why people should be involved.
Yeah, Joe, I think there's a couple of things with that. And my CISCA involvement, I'm going to get this wrong, it's 20 years, half my career, doing stuff with CISCA. CISCA as a trade association, as a body, it pulls together all the segments of what we do in interior construction. And the contractors, it's supposedly a contractor organization. It's contractor driven and run, and that's where it started. But in addition, it's the big major manufacturers in our industry. It's the small specialty manufacturers in our industry that do different things, entrepreneurial, with different materials, different things. It's the independent reps that sell the materials. It's the distributors that handle the materials. So when you put together the contractors, the distributors, the manufacturers, the small manufacturers, the salespeople, you have an industry there. And really general contractors and architects are not so much within CISCA, but you're talking about human beings that use materials to build buildings. It's that simple. That's changing. I might say a word about that later. But CISCA is all that. It's an organization that's been able to set up standards, to have networking and conversations. CISCA grew and became a resource for information and standards for the industry. It's an authority. There are premier players, companies and people in CISCA that can handle about anything that comes up. They have been there, they've seen it. They're a great reference, a great resource for young and old. And the connectivity And the vibrancy of the organization with young people and emerging leaders to more senior people like myself, it's a wonderful group to be involved in, both from a tangible facts standpoint, but also helps in coaching and mentoring personally, as groups, as organizations. It's really well done, and it's put together by people, and that's I. I think the people that are in it enjoy it, and I hope more and more people can be in it from all the factors I just talked about, not just contractors.
And what do you feel like has been the biggest impact that CISCA has made on the industry and for yourself even?
I think there's two. I think the technical aspects of what we do and the people, the connectivity of the people. That's we're building a building, and it takes years for that to develop from an owner's design idea through the architect, through the GCs, through all these trades coming together to make something happen. So the connectivity of those groups within CISCA to me has been the most important, but the technical aspects of what CISCA has, when you talk about different materials, you talk about different aspects of the construction cycle, all this pulls together to mean something as a body of work. And I think that's it. So I would have to say, I mean, if you had to put it in two things, technical aspects and people connectivity.
Yeah, that's that's great. How long has this CISCA been around? It's been around for many, many years.
Yeah, CISCA since 1950, a group of contractors got together. They had some issues, and they got together. This was a burgeoning industry at that moment in history. And I say there's three very important decades to CISCA. The 1950s, it's the formation of it, it's the founding of it, all that good stuff. People came together, and they got a couple large manufacturers involved in the decade of the 50s. About 25 years rolled past, and you get into 1975, 1985 window, and that's when we have an industry now. And what you see joining the group is distributors, manufacturers, small manufacturers, independent manufacturers rep, and the CISCA family came together in that decade. And I joined I joined in 85. There are times I wished I'd have joined in 75. I could have seen this happen. I've heard about it. I love it. These mentors and people were there.
Yeah.
To me, the third most important decade is going on right now, 2020 to 2023.
And why is that?
The digitalization that came out and intelligence and software and everything that came out of COVID.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to remember, construction stayed an essential business. We were at work. The manufacturers were at work. Everybody was constructing buildings. It was difficult, but everybody was still at work in our industry. But how we conducted some of it changed. We weren't on videos and Teams, and we weren't meeting. So digitalization really hit and really got involved there. There's been some transition things within CISCA that's taken place. There's been some folks that have stepped up over the past couple of years, and I think we're right in the middle of the most important third decade of CISCA. It's where we're going to be in the next 5 years, because there's some things going on out there that now CISCA again is in a position, I can talk about it, to step up and do some things where they did it in the past. There's a period right now where there's some things we need to do looking at the future. So I think what happened during COVID and moving forward in that 10 years past that is the next big decade of influence where CISCA is going to make an impact and can make an impact and should make an impact.
Well, it's going to be exciting to watch it all unfold. You had mentioned to me, Ron, there's some notable contributions to the association. Having to deal with aluminum.
Yeah.
You said I'm a big fan of aluminum. What is that? What does everybody need to know?
I think, well, I love aluminum because it's, about 75% of the aluminum ever made is still in the world because it's so recycled. It's 100% recyclable.
Yeah.
I think what we're going to see, and I love materials. I love materials. And I like to tell a story, back centuries ago, humans built buildings with mud bricks, with animal skins, with ice and think of igloos, think of ice and snow, limestone and volcanic ash in Rome, pioneers, log cabins and we graduated to wood and steel structures. Now we're in concrete, steel, glass, plastic. The interiors business is in mineral wool, fiberglass, steel, aluminum, copper, zinc, titanium, all these things. And I believe a couple things. There's going to be, I believe, a transformation in materials where we go from that stuff and two paths. One is the recyclability, the sustainability, and the circularity of materials. And we're already seeing it with architectural firms like Gensler leading the way, general contractor firms like Skanska Turner leading the way with sustainability requirements for what they put in the building to begin off with. Mm-hmm. And then they're able to, a company I do business with calls it urban mining. Mm-hmm. Another one that says using building as a material resource. You take the stuff off the building, you deconstruct it, you clean it, you sort it, you recycle it, either a one-to-one product or a different product. So I think there's an era coming where that's going to be critically important, because if you can recycle it, you don't have to use virgin material to make stuff out of the earth and the energy that requires. There's also going to be a transition to what the materials are. Mm-hmm. Self-healing concretes, transparent aluminum that'll be stronger than glass.
Wait, transparent aluminum?
Yeah. Just Alon, A-L-O-N.
That sounds cool.
Look it up. Oh, yeah. And phase change materials are already out there that can temperature regulate inside buildings. There's going to be a change in materials. And I carry on when I want people to think more and have fun with it. At some point, we're going to build structures on the moon, on Mars, on Saturn's Titan moon, floating colonies in space, or there's a different set of material. I mean, there's airplanes that are transparent skins. There's so much that's going to happen with materials past what we know.
Yeah, it's interesting. We did an article on building enclosure. Gosh, this was before COVID, and it was a contest of some sort, and it was a 3D printer that they took up to Mars or the moon or something. I think it was Mars, and that's how they built the building, was a 3D printer.
Yeah, that will happen. And right now, there's the ICC's putting together standards for 3D printed concrete. This stuff's already happening.
Yeah.
And I think our mindset has to change a little bit with regards to, oh my goodness gracious, we're going to be doing these things. There's gypsum on Mars. There's things that can happen that are going to happen. I probably won't be around to see it unless I freeze myself. But I think there's going to be things that are going to happen material-wise and constructability. Remember, I say humans build stuff. We are in an era right now where we're looking at robots.
Yeah.
We are going from human to robotics, and anything that uses hands will become robots. For example, in manufacturing facilities, there's robots on job sites. There's Spot Dog. There's the Roomba things lining up walls on concrete. I mean, this is already happening.
Yeah.
And we're going to have to engage with that. And who's going to run that? Will it be cell phones or will it be AI?
Yeah, it's pretty fascinating how everything kind of works through your phone.
Yeah,
for sure. Well, and I think the next generation too is getting used to these robots. I mean, we just did some college tours, and that's how kids order their food. It comes by robot. These little, Panda Express had a whole fleet of them, as well as the pizza place, when we were doing some college tours, and they're all over the place.
That's exactly right. I ran into Spot Dog on a wooden hotel floor in San Diego, and the guy brought it in, and it's heavy and it's plunking around on the wood floor. The older humans backed away.
Yeah.
The 6-year-old went up and petted it. Okay. So what does that tell you? What's coming?
Yeah.
Pure comfort and trust. Mm-hmm. The humans backed away.
That's pretty.
The 6-year-old did not. So I'm saying humans backed away. I mean, we're entering an area, and I don't think the human race is ready for this. I don't think it's ready for AI, robotics, and all this other stuff. I extend my story and say, who's going to build the stuff out in space? It's going to be robots with AI. So I mean, this is going to happen. This is going to happen.
Oh my gosh!
But right now, we're on Earth. We're building stuff that we have, and we're keeping humans busy, and we're doing these things, and it's fun.
I love it. Well, Ron, so why should people get involved with CISCA? For anybody, whether you're a manufacturer, whether you're a distributor, whether you're a rep, or whether you're a contractor or GC, like what's in it for them? Why should they be involved?
I think, for my opinion, this is a group, a body that accommodates a lot of the trades in the industry, the interior construction industry, interior products in the industry. It's the connections and I'm talking about subject matter expertise that is given in this association. And if I was a young person entering into this industry, and a lot of young folks are, they do it differently. They might be a construction manager, they might be in sustainability, they might be in robotics. Those folks, those young people are getting involved in this industry. Great. Come join this association because you've got people surrounding you that are subject matter experts that knew where it was, they knew where it is, and they see where it's going, but they're not the ones that's going to do it when it goes out there. The young people are. If you're already in the industry and you're a contractor or you're a distributor or you're a manufacturer or you're an independent sales rep, this is where your contacts are. Mm-hmm. This is where people are and the experts are. They're going to share their stories. So it's just a wonderful. It's not enough that it's wonderful. It's meaningful, and it's strategic, and it's to be involved with the group. And I don't know that everybody is going to pay money and be a member or go to the conventions and all that stuff. The outputs that CISCA does through the website or any digital programs and education sessions, you can access it as well. COVID told us you don't necessarily have to have a trade show. We can bring you this information to your desktop. We can show you these things. And so some folks may not want to be in it, but access it. And I think CISCA has to figure that out. CISCA is made of premier manufacturers, premier level contractors, premier level distributors. So the thinkers and the movers and the strategic folks are all involved. And as you move down to maybe smaller organizations or individuals, you may not have the time or the wherewithal to do it, but can you access all of this information? I think CISCA has to think through that. But to be part of it and be live on site with 300, 400 people, well, there's an energy there that you're not going to get if you're not there. And I think being live, being a member, being on committees, being recipients of that is the wonderful piece of CISCA.
I love it. Well, Ron, congratulations again. Very well deserved. You've been a great friend for many years, and it's so fun to see people like you who are the mentors of all the young people coming in, for sure, receive such an incredible award and just be honored the way you were out in Las Vegas at the CISCA convention. But if anybody has any questions about CISCA, where do they go to join? What's the website?
Yeah, CISCA.org, CISCA.org, and you can track your way through that and see where to sign up and who to get in touch with, and those you see the organization and you can join in. You see the committees at work. If you want to join a committee, there they are. And if you have interest, join them.
I love it. Well, hopefully we'll get some new members for sure as time goes on. But Ron, it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure to spend some time with you. It's an honor to call you a friend. It's great to be able to shine a bright light on all the great things that you've done over your career. And thank you so much for your time.
Well, thank you, Jill. It's good seeing you again, and the passion that you and your team have. It's a wonderful thing too. So we've always had fun discussions. It's very, very nice. Thank you.
Yes, we always have. And and thank you so much, Ron. And just to close out, if anybody has any questions for us, it's wconline.com or buildingenclosureonline.com. And while you're there, make sure you sign up for all our free content so you can stay up to date. And everything we're putting, especially when we're doing great interviews like we are today with Ron. Thanks again, Ron. Have a great day.